Hello everyone, welcome back to the Brief Review. Today I want to give my review of The Star Beast. Now I've had time to digest it and rewatch it. Now I'm going to say what I like and I don't like, but without no further ado, let's get straight into it. Now beginning with the opening scene, I do really like this one. I like how it sort of goes over the past and we get to see the old monsters. That's a nice bit of nostalgia for Series 4 and The Runaway Bride. So I really enjoyed that. I really like how they sort of bit up the suspense as well. Donna saying that there's a storm and it's about to break. I just hope they sort of fulfill that. They don't just say that and then it's sort of a cop-out like what I feel like happens at the end. So I hope by the end of the last special, it is very suspenseful and that does sort of link in. So I'm hoping it is quite a suspenseful, high-impact sort of like finale of the specials. So I really like that scene. I will say though, the full body shot of the 14th Doctor does seem a bit awkward. But apart from that, I really enjoyed that opening scene. Now talking about the title sequence and theme itself, I am sort of disappointed with the theme. I did enjoy the theme, but I thought it would sound a bit better when you actually had the title sequence. To me, I'm not a fan of the theme. There's this certain dooch in it that I just don't really like. I'll play a clip of the outro sort of theme because then you're going to see what I mean. I actually do feel like Series 7B is actually better than this one. I mean, better budget doesn't always mean that it's going to be a better title sequence. There's a lot of like cut in and then it's just sort of like, it's a bit all over the place. It looks like a fan theme. Now, there's nothing wrong with fan themes. Some of the ones I've actually seen, their title sequences are amazing, right there with some of the best Doctor Who themes. But then also there are some that aren't so good. So I feel like this is one of those sort of fan themes that aren't so good and doesn't really feel like Doctor Who. Because I've seen fan themes where it's sort of like completely different to what Doctor Who normally does, but still feels Doctor Who. This one for me feels too separated, if I'm honest. I really do hope the 15th Doctor does get a different title sequence, but I'm not sure if he will. I'm hoping that he does. Also, talking about the logo itself, when it pops up, I feel that's very flat, very 2D. Not really much going on with that, and I feel like that was sort of like lazy editing considering all the budget they have to make that theme. So I'm a bit disappointed with that. And then the outro titles as well. Again, it's just the vortex moving. It doesn't feel very like a lot of effort went into it. Even like the early series 1 theme of the outro feels a lot more better, sort of more alive. This one just doesn't, I just don't really like this theme, so I'm a bit disappointed. I probably think it might be, for me, the worst theme in New Who. Now, the first scene we get of the Doctor landing in Camden, I feel like, to me, it feels a bit like a rehearsal. It just doesn't, something just doesn't feel right about the 14th Doctor seeing Donna again. It just doesn't feel right. It feels a lot like a rehearsal. And also, I feel like the pacing is slightly off. He re-meets Donna again, he meets Rose, and the spaceship crashes all within 1 minute and 30 seconds. There's a lot happening in that short space of time. And then also you had that scene where she's calling Rose and the Doctor's like, what? She's like, Rose, and I'm like, what? Rose, what? And then again when he went to the taxi, and then Sean said Rose, and he was like, what again? I feel like we've moved on from this sort of like Rose sort of thing. I mean, if it was cool if they did it sort of like one-off. Like if Donna called Rose and the Doctor said what and then Rose appeared. Instead they sort of dragged it out a bit to do the 3 whats. And I feel like there is quite a lot of what in this episode, which is cool because it was sort of part of the 10th Doctor's era, but I feel like there's a bit too much of it going on. So I feel like one Rose and the Doctor saying what would have been cool, but the 3 whats just, it felt a bit too forced. Now, what I do like about the scene in Camden is the fact that Donna misses the spaceship again. That's quite cool how she's still missing things, so I'm really glad about that. But this one does feel a bit more unbelievable than others we've ever had before with Donna, because everyone's sort of going and got their cameras out and everything, and you hear the crash and she's just totally oblivious to it. I feel like this one's slightly more unbelievable than the others. Also, by the end of the scene, Donna goes up to the Doctor and says you can't wear a tight suit over the age of 35. And I feel like this is the beginning of the Doctor. The 14th Doctor seems to be a bit picked on in this special. I don't know why. There's a couple things that I've noticed where he just sort of gets picked on and told off for a certain few things. So I feel like that's the beginning of Run theme. It is sort of funny, but he does get picked on quite a lot, and I'm not sure why. Now, when the Doctor goes in to get into the taxi and he pulls out the psychic paper and it says Grand Mistress, I really did love that. I thought that was quite cool how the psychic paper had updated. And it sort of reminds me of the Ghost Monument where she says, come to Daddy. So I do like that one. But then the sort of like later on, I'll come on to this a bit more later, but the scene where Donna says, if you're a woman, you still remembered. That one I'm not too keen on of the 13th Doctor reference. But I really do like the psychic paper reference. I thought that one was really cool. Now, the scene in the taxi with Sean, I absolutely love this bit. This one I had no faults with. And with the Series 4 theme subtly playing in the background, it just felt so much like how Doctor used to with David Tennant and Catherine Tate. But unfortunately for me, this is one of the only scenes where it does feel like that. Doctor Who feels very separated from how it used to in terms of when it was David Tennant and Catherine Tate. So I do like this scene because it does feel like Series 4, and it's different, but it's sort of like similar, but I feel like this is the only scene that does have it, so that's a bit unfortunate. But I really do love this one. I like the jokes about Nerys and Doctor saying she's fine. How is she after the accident? Oh, not fine. And then it also felt she's been fine. That was funny. I really enjoyed that scene. So the taxi scene was great all in all. Now this is where we sort of get to see the Sonic and its sort of new features. Now I really do like how the Sonic does all these sort of cool things now on TV. So I really do like how the Sonic has done that, and the Sonic itself I really enjoy. So the Sonic and its new features are definitely a highlight of this new era as well. Now it only appears for a second, but there's this scene where this sort of like unit soldier is being decontaminated in this sort of like hazmat suit. That was so cool, and it felt like something coming out of some sort of alien movie. So I really like how they put that in Doctor Who. And then when Shirley says we don't know what life we're looking for in the spaceship, that just felt like so alien but so new. So it was a nice new sort of like depth and shade to Doctor Who, which I really enjoyed. So those two small sort of like bits were quite cool as well when the spaceship crashed, or parked I should say. Now a really sad scene, which is meant to be sad, is when Rose and Donna are outside their house, and then Rose is being called Jason, her dead name, which apparently is the name of Before You Transitioned, which is what Yasmin Philly mentioned in Doctor Who Unleashed. So that was quite upsetting that that happened, so I did feel bad for her. But that was such a sad scene. But also, stepping aside from that and going into sort of like the noble household, it does feel a lot more depressing than it used to. I mean, it used to be sort of like funny and jokey and relatable. Now it's just more like, it is still relatable, but it doesn't have the same vibe anymore, because you've got Rose who feels lonely-ish. She says she's different, but you can sort of tell she's lonely, and being picked on outside her house isn't exactly fun, is it? Then you've got Sylvia, who sort of like almost comes across as insane. She's always saying, what aliens? There's no aliens, what are you talking about? And then having to sort of hide that from Donna, and then at the same time worrying about calling Rose the wrong thing or saying the wrong thing. And then you've got Donna, who enjoys her life, but one, hasn't got a lot of money, so she's not exactly in the best of places, and two, she's sort of like always like, well, she says she lies in bed most nights wondering what she's missing and looking to her side. So I feel like this is actually quite sort of depressing. It's not like the noble family household we used to know, where it was like Sylvia nagging her and Donna being usual Donna, and then we had Bernard Cribbins as well. So I feel like it is sort of different. Now, obviously, Bernard Cribbins will be in it, and Donna has, of course, changed, but I'm going to be talking about more of Donna's change later on, because there's just something about Donna in this new special which I just feels off. And Sylvia herself, of course, she has changed now. Hopefully she took the Doctor's message in The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, where he says that you should tell her once in a while that you love her and that she's her daughter and she's special and everything. So maybe she has taken that on board and Sylvia is less naggy. But I feel like that was what was very enjoyable about Sylvia, for me at least. And maybe it's a sign that we shouldn't have really... I'm not saying we shouldn't have brought these characters back, but maybe we shouldn't have really tampered with them, because I feel like it was a great ending for Sylvia. So now they've taken that away because she's evolved. She's not as enjoyable as a character as she used to be. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I'm not too sure about that. One thing I did enjoy about Donna's character, which we never really got to see before in Doctor Who, is her sort of protective mothering side. I really like this side of Donna. So it's great that they sort of like added a new depth, a new layer to Donna, which I really enjoy. But something that I don't enjoy about Donna is how Sylvia was sort of gaslighting her into believing she had a breakdown, and that's why she couldn't remember. Because I don't really like how she's trying to say that she had a breakdown, because it wasn't Donna's fault, and she never did have a breakdown. Again, I just feel like it's sort of like draining sort of like that fun energy that the noble household had. I just don't like how Sylvia's sort of like tricking her into believing she had a breakdown. I don't feel like that's right. Now, moving on to the monsters, Beep was absolutely brilliant. They did such an amazing job at making him, and Miriam Margolyes did such a great job at the voice of both when he was cute and when he was evil. So that was absolutely brilliant. So I really think that was good. I've got no complaints about Beep. Just absolutely great. And he's so believable when he's sort of like all cute and small and everything. And then when they go evil, it's just like absolutely crazy, like how it changes and everything. So everyone involved in Beep the Meep did such a brilliant job. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about the Ray Forresters' voices, because they just feel a bit off. They just feel very normal, very ordinary. I would have liked a voice that sounded a bit different. But saying that, what I really like about the Ray Forresters, which I had no idea they could actually do, was fly. So when they were flying, I was like, oh wow. So I was quite surprised at that. So that was a cool feature. So their voice, I'm not so keen on, but the flying was very cool. Again, for me, another introduction which felt very odd was Shirley and the Doctor's meeting. It was sort of like they knew each other, but they didn't. I know she sort of knows who he is or knows of him, but it just felt very off their meeting, so I wasn't really keen on that scene. And the fact that the Doctor was sort of hiding from Unit, I feel like it takes away from the high stakes. If he was involved and could sort of have that interaction, then that sort of like helps sort of like brings new depth to the episode and just makes it more like high suspense. So I wasn't keen on him hiding from Unit. Now, the scene where that sort of like black orb energy takes over the soldiers, now that felt extremely new, but extremely Doctor Who. Now, that was one of my favourite scenes again, because I just felt that was so cool. And the way they were sort of marching down, it was sort of not scary, but sort of like that sort of thing. So it was a very cool scene, that. Now, moving on to the next scene where it was sort of like the Doctor who was behind that sort of van and then just runs out and he's literally right next to the soldier. I think one of the soldiers accidentally knocks him. I don't know why the soldiers don't say anything to him. Like, if they know he's the Doctor, why aren't they asking for his help or anything? And if they don't know he's the Doctor, surely they'd tell him to move out of the way or something. It's just like he's invisible. So I'm not sure about that one. I just felt that was very strange, actually. I felt like he may as well just sat in the front seat of the van because they just don't acknowledge him. So I'm not sure about that scene at all. Now, the scene where they're all in the kitchen was very funny. But the scene where Donna says she could sell Meep for £1 million, that again felt very out of character for Donna, even before the Doctor. I feel like that makes Donna a bad person because it's a living being. So I feel like that doesn't seem like Donna to me, even before she met the Doctor. So I wasn't keen on that because that sort of made Donna look sort of evil and sort of cruel. So I don't like that scene of Donna. I thought it was so sad when the Doctor thought that Wilf was dead, especially now that Bernard Cribbins has passed away. I feel like it adds a new layer of sadness. But that was such a sad scene, but it was really good. And the fact that Kate is looking after him is so wonderful as well. And it's sort of like just gives her a name sort of drop to build up towards the giggle where she will be coming back. So I really like that scene. Now, another scene that I don't actually really enjoy is the pronoun scene. Because I feel like, again, this is the Doctor being told off. And I feel like asking Meep his pronouns is wrong. Because I feel like pronouns being different from your sex is quite a modern human thing. So to sort of project that onto an alien doesn't feel right. I mean, you wouldn't ask a Dalek its pronouns. And with Meeps, we don't even know if there's male or female or anything. We don't know how they sort of are. So I feel like projecting that sort of pronoun thing onto the alien doesn't make sense. If it was like Rose saying, oh, you're assuming he is a pronoun for a human, then it makes sense. But an alien, it just doesn't feel right for me, at least. I feel like if Rose said to the Doctor, oh, you're assuming a he, and then the Doctor said, oh, sorry, what would you call yourself? And then Beep says, I call myself the definite article, I'm always the me. But I thought that would have been more fitting. But sort of like doing the pronoun thing on an alien, it just doesn't fit the same way. So I wasn't too sure about that one. Now, I love the scene of the alien invasion. I knew I'd enjoy this with Unit fighting the Wraithroids. But also, I'm surprised that the soldiers don't actually question why other soldiers are firing at them. I don't see why they're just firing at them and not asking any questions. But also, I like the Sonic again where it makes the force field. However, I feel like the Doctor should have just Sonicked up the force field. Instead, I feel like we wasted a lot of time with him creating it and pushing it about. I mean, we could have cut that and added more space for somewhere else and helped the pacing. So I'm not too sure about the time spent with the force field being made. I feel like that was a bit of wasted time, but I do like the actual thing that the Sonic can do now. Now, another part I really liked was straight after he's made the force field where Donna holds the Sonic. I think the Doctor accidentally gave it to her by accident and she sort of looks at it. Now, that was really cool, sort of building up to her memory of that. But one thing I don't understand is Sylvia sort of does her best to sort of like get Donna away and sort of like hide the two-hearted thing and the name Doctor and everything. Yet the Doctor seems sort of relaxed to be around Donna. I thought if she remembers she will die. So he just seems too relaxed about it. Yeah, at first he tried to get away, but when he's involved, he doesn't seem too like keen to get away from her. Of course, he loves Donna as a friend, so he will want to spend time with her. But the fact that she could die, I thought that would take priority. So the Doctor seems too relaxed, whereas Sylvia seems like over the top to try and get rid of the Doctor. So I'm not too sure about that because they just feel like polar opposites. So I'm not sure about that one, to be honest. The scene where they get away in the taxi and the Doctor checks the pulse, now that was sort of like high stakes and very quick and exciting. I really enjoyed that scene. And then the scene as well where we sort of get to meet Sergeant Zurg and Zrog. Now, I really like that as well because I did some research on the Star Beasts and hearing about them. So to see them in Doctor as well as Beat the Meep was really cool. I like how their guns sort of stun guns as well. It makes a nice change. So they weren't trying to kill anyone. So I really like that actually as well. Now, when Beep turns evil, now that is so cool. That is such a cool scene when Beep turns evil, because I really like that. And then also where she says strange child and Donna sort of leaps to Rose's defence. Again, another layer to Donna, which I really enjoy. That was such a cool scene. And then actually when Meep is being sort of worshipped as well, or praised to the Most High and all that, that was such a cool scene. Again, Meep feels like such a different villain to what we've had in Doctor Who before, and the look and everything, and it's so good and it's so refreshing. So I really do like the Meep and all in all, and then them being worshipped and everything. So all of that was quite a cool scene. So I really like that bit. Also, very subtly, there was sort of a reference to Turn Left, where Donna asks the Doctor, "What's your name?" and the Doctor says, "I'm just passing by." That reminds me of in Turn Left, where the Rachnos spaceship just starts shooting everywhere on Christmas, and then sort of Donna asks, "What's your name?" and then Rose says, "Oh, I was just passing by. I wasn't even meant to be here. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is so wrong." So I really liked how that was a subtle reference. And speaking about the character Shirley, I like how she had gadgets in a wheelchair. That was really cool. I really like that scene. I would like to see Shirley sort of differently now. I feel like there's been a couple things about her wheelchair, which is great that we've sort of shown that, and it's great how she's got gadgets in her wheelchair and shows she has other abilities that people don't. But I'd like to see more of her personality now. So I'd like to see her in different scenes. Again, of course we're going to see more of her in The Giggle with Kate Stewart, so I'd like to see more of herself in that, and not just sort of like her wheelchair things, because I feel like that's sort of been established. And of course it's part of her, so it is going to be mentioned. But I'd like to see more of her herself, because she's far more than her wheelchair. Now, a big problem with the special for me was when Donna remembers. She sort of like remembered the Doctor, and then she was fine. And it was only if he triggered the Doctor Donna, then she sort of become like she was going to die. So I thought if she remembers, she will die. Not if she becomes a Dr. Donna, she will die. So I'm really not sure about that. And then I like the scene where Donna actually sort of regenerates. That was quite cool to see Catherine Tate do that. But then again, she sort of remembered, and when she did, she was sort of like, it wasn't like jokey and annoyed that she gave her money away, because it was sort of like printed on from the Doctor, that sort of thing to do. But she seems more like resentful and angry about it. It just doesn't feel like Donna. So I know that scene probably was meant to not come across as that. It was meant to be more jokey, like she was annoyed at the Doctor as she normally used to, being like the runaway bride or something. But it just felt very resentful and just completely unlike Donna. Again, when she does remember, there's not this sort of like, "Oh my god, Doctor, I've missed you" sort of thing. It just feels like they've just sort of like haven't been away, but not in a good way. It's just like there's no reunion. Like, you would have thought after 15 years and the Donna finally remember him, they would have sort of like had this big hug and reunion, "Oh, I've missed you," but there was none of that really. Again, it just feels out of place and wrong. So I'm really not keen on that. Then when she also says Donna Noble is dissenting, again, for me that doesn't feel like Donna. It just doesn't feel like Donna, something she used to say, or that she would say now, even though she's changed as a person. But I do like the scene where she's sort of flicking all the controls and the "I'm the Doctor" moment is playing at the background. I really like that because it does remind me of like when she was on the Crucible and all that, so that was quite cool. Now, what I do like with what the Metacrisis has been done is that it's sort of passed on to Rose, being Donna's daughter. I really like that. But what I don't like is this whole binary, non-binary stuff, because to me it doesn't make sense how Donna said, "Oh, the Doctor's male, Donna's female," and then Rose is, "I'm both neither," or what was it? It was something like, "I'm neither and more," because the Doctor isn't actually really male all the time now. So I don't feel like that works. Even though the Doctor is male in that incarnation, it just doesn't feel right. So I feel like it makes sense it being passed down, but I feel like all that non-binary stuff isn't necessary. And then also the fact that the Doctor can be a woman, I just feel like it just takes away from that whole male, female, and non-binary sort of thing. So I don't feel like that plays very well. It was sad, however, when Donna looked like she was dying. I like how Rose sort of remembers the monsters and she created the toys from that. What I don't understand is if she remembers Donna's adventures, how come she remembers Carvanista? Because Carvanista appeared in Series 13. So that doesn't make sense to me. Now, when the Wayfarers say Beat the Meep's going to get 10,000 years and they say that, "Oh, all the lost soldiers are going to be remembered," that felt like very much like an RTD ending. So I really enjoyed that one. And then when Meep says, "Oh, I'll let the boss know," again, it's building up to the finale of the special, so that's really cool. It makes it sort of like a mini-series, so I really like that scene. Now, what I don't understand is Rose and Donna sort of just like let go of the Metacrisis. It just feels very much like a cop-out. And also, again, the Doctor being sort of told off and sort of like, not bullied, but sort of picked on, is the fact that how Donna says, "Oh, if you're a woman, you'd understand," like I said earlier. I feel like it doesn't contribute to the more inclusive, diverse Doctor Who that Russell T Davies is trying to do. So I'm not keen on that. And then them just sort of like letting go of the Meta Crisis, it just feels like just such a cop-out. It's just such an excuse. So I really don't like how that was handled. Another thing with this Meta Crisis I don't understand is Rose says she's finally me after all this time. But there's two things I don't understand about that. One, she never knew that she was any different. And she never even knew about the Doctor or the Meta Crisis. And two, if she's just let it go, then isn't she back to how she was before? So to me that doesn't make sense. Again, another thing that doesn't make sense to me is how Donna doesn't seem to want to travel with the Doctor. It's not like she doesn't want to travel with the Doctor in case she forgets again. It's just like she doesn't want to seem to travel with him. The only reason she does is to see Wilf, and the reason they go on these adventures are by accident. So I'm not sure how I feel about that one, to be honest. When Sean says he's not worried about Donna being in the box with that man, again, this one is more funny, but again, it does sort of play into that sort of being picked on that's happening to the Doctor. So I'm not sure. I feel like some of these jokes don't seem to work as well. That one is more funny, but it does sort of add to this whole 14th Doctor being picked on, which I've sort of thought they are doing. The TARDIS itself is really brilliant. I absolutely love it. I love how it changes colours and sort of like the console being steampunky. I really do enjoy that. And I like how Donna says, oh, it's still a bit cold, because it did look a bit cold in white, so I'm glad it can change colours. But that was really cool. The coffee machine, I'm not too sure, and that felt a bit weird. But again, it does remind me of 13th Doctor's custard cream dispenser, so that was quite cool. Also, if you listen closely, the TARDIS did sort of hum like the 11th Doctor's TARDIS, which I really liked as well. And then also, I liked in the scene of the TARDIS where Donna says, why did this face come back? And Doctor says he doesn't know. It's sort of like building up to why we're finding out that this face has returned. So that was sort of like, again, building up to the other specials, which I really enjoyed. Now, when Donna says, oh, this is how it all started with the coffee, that she dropped it on her computer at work, I wish they'd changed that to, oh, this is how it all started with Lance and the Huon particles. Because I feel like that would have been a cool reference. I feel like they should have done that, and I thought that's what they were going to say. So that's a shame, but that's sort of just like a little nitpick, to be honest. But yeah, it's a cool scene. And then when she drops the coffee on the TARDIS, now I feel like it just doesn't seem right. It's just like, oh my god, it just feels a bit forced and all of that. But it does, what is made up for it is the next scene where the TARDIS is exploding, it dematerialises, which I was actually there for. When it dematerialises and then Doctor says we go anywhere in time and space, definitely makes up for it, and it is a brilliant cliffhanger, so I really enjoyed that one. So it finished with a really strong finish, but again, the TARDIS sequence at the end is even worse than the beginning, so I'm really not a fan of this TARDIS sequence. Maybe it'll grow on me a bit more, but I'm really not a fan. Now, upon first watch, I would have given it a 4 out of 10, which is extremely low for me. It's probably one of the lowest I'd ever rate a New Who episode. But upon rewatch, it's about a 6 out of 10, so it's improved, but not a lot better. For me, this does sort of feel like a parody. It just doesn't feel like it was handled properly, so therefore it doesn't feel real for me, which I'm quite disappointed about, because I just feel like it hasn't been handled properly, and I'm so glad there's another 2 specials, which will hopefully improve it. I'm just quickly going over the characters. The 14th Doctor, to me, just feels very different, but different from the 10th, but just very different. He doesn't actually feel like the 10th Doctor at all for me at the moment. There is sort of like subtle things that, of course, David Tennant sort of mannerisms of the Doctor, which are the same, but he just feels very different. So I'm hoping that he's going to sort of improve over the next few specials and we sort of get this Doctor sort of established. Because for me, it does feel like he's playing a parody of the 10th Doctor, so we need to make him more established as the 14th Doctor sort of thing and see more of him. But for me, at the moment, it just feels like a parody of the 10th Doctor. Donna has evolved, which is good, but I just feel like there's something going on with Donna's character, which it just feels very off. I'm not sure if it's the way it's been written, or the way it's been handled, or that the fact that Catherine Tate has grown and improved as an actress and is doing Donna slightly different. So I'm not sure about that. So Donna I'm not too keen on. Sylvia does come across a bit unhinged. Again, I do prefer Sylvia back in the day. I feel like, not that she shouldn't have come back, but I just feel like I was happy with her ending and how she improved, and now she's just very different. And I'm just not sure about Sylvia either, to be honest. But Sean is a great character. I've got nothing to complain about Sean. And Rose is good as well. I really enjoy her character as well. So I've got no 2 complaints about those 2. Overall, for me, being completely honest, the episode was a little more than okay. It wasn't as enjoyable as I thought it'd be, and a lot of the characters feel very different to how they used to be. So I'm not too sure on that, to be honest, and it just feels very off. If this was the only special, I would have been disappointed, because I feel like a lot of the characters seem off, and I wouldn't have liked this to be their ending. Now, I don't want to seem too negative. I did enjoy it, but there's just a lot that I didn't like about this special. I'm hoping the other 2 will be improved, and I think they will be better. But all in all, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. But what I'd love to know is what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Are you indifferent? Let me know, because I'd love to hear it. But a lot of people put a lot of effort into this special, so I do still really appreciate it. And I'm still very excited for the next 2 specials coming up. But yeah, it wasn't as good as I thought it'd be, but I did still enjoy it in a way. But thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed the review, and see you in my next video.